100 million. Yes, you heard that right. Not a typo. One vehicle has sold over 100 million units. No, it's not a car, and it's definitely not a truck. It's a 50 cubic centimeters motorcycle, one that most Americans have never even heard of. This is the story of how Honda created the most successful vehicle in human history, the Honda Super Cub. Picture this. It's 1958, post-war Japan. The country is still picking up the pieces after years of destruction. Cars? Out of reach for most people. Public transportation? Overcrowded. Bicycles? Everywhere. Then, in the middle of this chaos, Honda releases a small, strange-looking motorcycle that would go on to outsell every Ferrari, Lamborghini, and Bugatti combined. A revolution disguised as basic transportation. But here's the thing. While Harley-Davidson was focused on building chrome-laden cruisers for American rebels, and Triumph was designing cafe racers for British speed demons, Honda was asking a completely different question. What if we built something for everyone else? The Super Cub wasn't just another motorcycle. It was a vehicle that connected people, broke barriers, and made transportation accessible in a way nobody had ever imagined. To understand just how the Super Cub became the most successful vehicle ever, we need to rewind to 1958 Japan. The war had ended only 13 years earlier, and the economy was in shambles. The average Japanese worker made about 15,000 yen per month, roughly $42. Meanwhile, a small car cost about 400,000 yen. That's more than 2 years of someone's salary. Personal transportation? Impossible for most people. But Honda's founder, Soichiro Honda, didn't see it that way. In 1946, he'd already made waves by attaching small engines to bicycles, creating motorized bikes from war surplus. These machines were crude and unreliable, but they planted the seed for something bigger. Honda wanted to do more. He wanted to create a vehicle that would change the entire transportation landscape. The challenge? It was monumental. The goal was clear. Build a vehicle that was cheaper to operate than a bicycle, more reliable than anything on the market, simple enough for anyone to ride, and powerful enough for daily use, all while being incredibly fuel efficient. Oh, and it had to look respectable, not like a motorcycle at all. Enter Teo Fujisawa, Honda's business partner, and a team of engineers led by Kyoshi Kawashima. They weren't just designing another motorcycle. They were reimagining personal transportation entirely. The Super Cub's development took 3 years and nearly bankrupted Honda. The company invested 1 billion yen, its entire capital plus more, into developing this one model. Engineers destroyed hundreds of prototypes, tested engines until they exploded, and rode these machines until they fell apart. But every failure brought them closer to success. Then, the breakthrough came from an unlikely source: American washing machines. Honda's engineers studied how companies like Maytag and Whirlpool made complex machinery simple enough for housewives to operate. They applied the same philosophy to the Super Cub, resulting in a machine so simple and efficient that it would change the motorcycle industry forever. Let's talk about the engine. It was a 49 cubic centimeters, overhead valve, air-cooled, 4-stroke single-cylinder engine. Now, 49 cubic centimeters is tiny. Most modern lawnmowers have bigger engines. But Honda's engineers extracted 4.5 horsepower at 9,500 revolutions per minute from this small engine. To put that in perspective, most mopeds at the time made just 2 to 3 horsepower. But the Super Cub's engine spun at nearly 10,000 revolutions per minute, race bike territory for the era, and did it reliably day after day. The key was in the metallurgy. Honda developed new aluminum alloys for the cylinder head and precision cast the cylinder to tolerances measured in thousandths of an inch. That's where the magic happened. Now, let's talk about the transmission. Honda created the world's first mass-produced semi-automatic clutch for a motorcycle. Normally, you have to coordinate a clutch lever with your left hand, the throttle with your right, and the gear shifter with your left foot. It's like patting your head, rubbing your stomach, and hopping on one leg at the same time. But the Super Cub eliminated the hand clutch entirely. Instead, the centrifugal clutch engaged automatically when you twisted the throttle. The rider still shifted gears with their foot, but the clutch handled itself. In minutes, anyone who could ride a bicycle could master the Super Cub. This innovation wasn't just convenient, it was revolutionary. Delivery drivers could carry packages with one hand, housewives could ride without wrestling with a clutch lever, and office workers could commute without dirtying their suits. The frame was just as innovative. Honda pioneered the step-through design, creating what they called an underbone frame. Instead of swinging your leg over a high seat like a traditional motorcycle, you could simply step through the middle like mounting a scooter. But unlike a scooter, the Super Cub used 17-inch wheels, the same size as many full-size motorcycles. This gave it better stability at speed and allowed it to handle rougher roads. The bodywork? Simple but brilliant. It was pressed steel with a plastic leg shield to protect riders from road spray and engine heat. Honda also included a fully enclosed chain case, something unheard of at the time. Other motorcycles needed constant chain adjustments and threw grease everywhere. The Super Cub's chain ran in an oil bath and could go 6,000 miles between adjustments. Now, let's talk performance. On paper, the numbers don't sound impressive. Top speed, 43 miles per hour. 0 to 30 miles per hour in 5 seconds. But here's the real kicker: fuel economy. 200 miles per gallon. That's right, 200 miles per gallon. At the time, fuel prices in Japan were about 50 yen per liter. You could ride for an entire week on the cost of a bowl of ramen. But it wasn't just fuel economy. The Super Cub was also ridiculously easy to maintain. Other motorcycles needed frequent valve adjustments and constant tinkering. The Super Cub, on the other hand, could run 3,000 miles between tune-ups. Its air filter was a replaceable paper element, another first that cost pennies and took seconds to change. The spark plug could last 6,000 miles, and many owners reported running their Super Cubs for over 20,000 miles with nothing but oil changes. Honda didn't stop at engineering. They revolutionized manufacturing as well. Their Suzuka factory was the most advanced motorcycle plant in the world, implementing statistical quality control techniques that resulted in unprecedented defect rates. By 1959, just 1 year after launch, Honda was building 5,000 Super Cubs per month. By 1960, that number hit 16,000, and the Suzuka plant was running 24 hours a day, 3 shifts a day. But Japan alone couldn't handle this level of production. Honda needed to go global. The American invasion began in 1959, but not how you'd expect. While Harley-Davidson marketed to rebels and outlaws, Honda launched the most unlikely ad campaign in motorcycle history. You meet the nicest people on a Honda. The campaign featured college students, housewives, and businessmen. Clean-cut, respectable, and normal people riding Super Cubs. The campaign cost Honda $5 million, an astronomical sum for a motorcycle company. But it worked. By 1963, Honda was selling 7,000 units per month in America alone. The Super Cub became the ride of choice for college students, pizza delivery drivers, even postal workers and police departments. But the real explosion came in Asia. In Thailand, the Super Cub became so ubiquitous that Honda became the word for any motorcycle. In Vietnam, modified Super Cubs could carry entire families or 400 pounds of cargo. In Indonesia, Super Cub engines powered everything from fishing boats to generators. The numbers are staggering. By 1968, just 10 years after launch, Honda had sold 5 million Super Cubs. By 1974, that number hit 10 million. Production expanded to 15 countries, and local assembly plants opened in Taiwan, Thailand, Vietnam, Peru, Mexico, and Nigeria. The engineering of the Super Cub continued to evolve. By 1966, Honda introduced the C50 model, which featured more efficient combustion chamber design inspired by Honda's Formula One racing program. By 1980, Honda introduced electronic ignition, removing the need for constant tuning and making maintenance even easier. And despite the changing motorcycle trends, Honda never stopped making the Super Cub. By 2005, they had sold 50 million units. By 2017, the number hit 100 million. Honda celebrated with a modest ceremony, but CEO Takahiro Hachigo said it best. The Super Cub is a partner to people's lives. The Super Cub isn't just a motorcycle. It's a testament to the power of simplicity and reliability. It's a machine that continues to transform lives, one small motorcycle at a time. What's your Super Cub story? Have you seen them buzzing through the streets of Bangkok or Hanoi? Maybe your dad had one in college. Or maybe you're one of the millions whose life was changed by this humble machine. Share your story in the comments below. If you enjoyed this deep dive into the most successful vehicle ever created, hit that subscribe button. Because the stories of engineering genius hiding in plain sight.